electricity here in Columbia. Well, it's been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the rave breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina! It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherber.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losing.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home. A little late, but we're here nonetheless. Inside the Gamecocks, the show live from the Signorama Studios and built by the Barn Dominium Co. The Barndo Co. is what they're called, the barndominiumco.com, where you can build your dream home for as low as $160 per square foot if you live in the Carolinas, in Georgia, or in Tennessee. Signorama is the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics, and Matt Vaughn's team is unbelievable. Gamecock owned and operated are both of those companies, and we hope that you support them like they support us and all Gamecocks here in the Palmetto State. All right, well, Casey and Morgan ran a little long, but well worth it. Shane Beamer was joining them this morning, and it was a wonderful interview. We'll talk about that here in just a second. We do have John Whittle ahead at 12:30 as well. Here's the good news for all of you whom are wondering if we'll be on past 1. We'll stay on until 1:30 this afternoon today. So if you jumped in today with with JC and Mike at 9:45, you literally get us for almost 4 hours, all of us total, including Coach Beamer. So we're certainly happy about that. But Phil and JC, we'll let you talk even more. What's up, guys?
Not much. I'll have to go.
Just all right.
I'll be out at 1:15. I got Spurs up show duties today, but I should have responded to the group text. But a whirlwind morning. Tuesdays are always awesome because it's bingo night. But I always get up like really early because I have Bill Gunner on 107.5, and that was a nice conversation with Ian Preston this morning. Then of course, Mike and I had Shane Beamer on. That was kind of the day we could do it. It's kind of funny because we put out an episode from Friday yesterday, and so you have back-to-back JC and Morgan's. But you guys can get used to this. This is JC and Morgan is going to go to a streaming format, and many times it will lead into this show. We will not go over like this, but since we had Shane, we figured a lot of you wouldn't care. And so just excited about that, excited about what we do here on this show. And, it's just kind of neat when you have different voices. And I know Mike's been a voice that all of you have appreciated for a long, long time. And we've had that podcast for a long, long time. And it's grown and it's got, a big audience outside of South Carolina. It's different. We don't just talk Gamecocks. We talk the whole kit and caboodle. And if you're like me, you like that perspective sometimes. I know Krager listens to Bill King. I'm a guest every morning, and I know you guys all are fanatical about that, but you're going to be able to start seeing more of Mike in that capacity and also with us as a kind of featured guest here in the future. So get excited. If you love Mike Morgan, get excited, folks, because you're going to get a heavy dose of the morgue here coming up directly. But very, very excited. Nice to talk to Shane. Always a great interview. Always very, appreciative of the media and the questions you ask. And God, I think that I don't know the questions he got asked at media days. I think we did better than that. And he even got to know a little bit about his movie taste. So that was good. Got to know a little bit about his TV watching taste. That was good. So there we go.
Yeah, no, it was a good interview. Shane is always very well. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I'm pretty sure he's turned some down, but he's never turned me down. He's never turned you down.
He doesn't turn down a lot. I've seen.
No, he's done some. He probably wishes he didn't. But
I've heard Star Trek go where no man's gone before. He goes where like Will Muschamp would never have gone, or especially Coach Spurrier. What a pod? What? Although I think our chances of getting the head ball coach on this show are much better than we ever would have been able to get him on as the head coach here, because he's gotten into podcasting.
Oh,
he's
I would love that. For the sheer experience of watching him try to get the camera going and all that,
he's got people to help him with that. At his restaurant, he's got
show every fall with Shane.
He's got a podcasting booth at his restaurant down there.
Yeah,
shoot, I'm here at Spurrier's having a signature Spurrier drink and a Spurrier burger. Shoot.
Well, that's where elite. I don't want to necessarily call it journalism, but elite interview skills come into play. If you get Coach Spurrier, ask the question and get the hell out of the way, because he gets antsy to answer. He doesn't care what you have to say. Just ask it and go. So you better be ready if you're going to talk to Steve, because if you're not, he's going to talk over you and you ain't going to finish the questions,
And don't get creative with your questions.
No, just ask.
Don't try to be witty. He's the star of the show.
Yeah.
He's the star of the show. I mean, it'd be, Lou Holtz obviously was a different interview as well, because he's kind of, if you saw him before, there's a clip of him before the camera starts rolling at a Gamecock Club meeting. Our former, it's funny because our former sponsor here, John Barber, was with the Charleston County Gamecock Club, or Dorchester, or one of them back in the day, and Holtz just lets this poor girl from local TV have it. And you see John Barber walking in the background, like with the coach. Hey, come on, coach. I just say you're awful. I'll never do the thing again. What a baby. Anyway, Spurrier was never like that, but it was. And Shane's obviously awesome and gets it. And look, Will Muschamp, when he would do things. I think Muschamp just, honest to God, he was working his butt off on football, and guys that are wired more like him, they're like just dialed into the game so much that anything else is a big distraction. I think Nick Saban's the same way. Kirby Smart's probably the same way. So anyway, there's my 2 cents.
Well, it was a great interview. I think the one of the things that was discussed in that interview, Mike, speaking of just ask the question, Mike said, how's your offensive line look? Great question. Because it matters. We're in just a minute. I'm going to roll out some numbers that a lot of you are going to go, you know what? I didn't think about it that way just yet. But the offensive line greatly matters this year for Gamecock football. And I think Shane gave a very honest answer. JC, you can back this up, because what he actually said publicly is what we've heard privately, is that they like where they are with the guys. They just have to figure out exactly who's going to do what when the season rolls around and what's going to be the best fit. They have been cross-training. Many of the, I guess not all young, but many of the guys that they've got playing up front, and they are going to have to be good this year, because it is probably going to take a little bit of time at least to get that running back group in order. And then you want to make sure that the talent that you have out wide, tight ends, receivers, and more, that they have a chance to be as special as they can be. And the quarterback that you have, a guy named Spencer Rattler, has a chance to do what we all know he's capable of doing. But none of that's going to be possible if they're not very good up front, Phil. So I think that when Mike asked him the question about the offensive line, and he had an honest answer. But I also don't think that it was an answer of scared about what those guys bring to the table. I think they actually like where they are for the most part. They just want to make sure that over the next 4 weeks, starting next Friday, that when they kick it off in the first game, that they feel like they've turned over every leaf that they can turn to make sure that the group they've got out there is comfortable doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounded like guys. They were fully focused on doing their due diligence in the preseason workouts and to figure that out, or at least have what they think are their best five on the field for North Carolina.
Well, and here's the thing too, JC. It's not like this group hasn't played. I mean, here's some numbers up front. Ja'Kai Moore, This is coming into the year. I'm not including 2023. This is prior to 2023. Ja'Kai Moore has played in 33 SEC games. He's been on campus for 4 seasons, and he's got 19 career SEC starts. Vershawn Lee has been on campus for 3 years. This will be his 4th. 28 career games played in the league. When I say in the league, I'm talking about, it's South Carolina. And 17 starts in the SEC. Tyshawn Wanamaker has been on campus for 3 years, 20 SEC games under his belt, 11 SEC starts. And Trey Jones is a guy to keep an eye on. He looks good, and they like him and where he is now. But he's been around for 3 years, 21 games played and 3 starts in the SEC. Remember, Trey Jones has also played some special teams here, and y'all talked about that a lot. And Shane had a very, very truthful answer with special teams. And then another one to keep an eye on, of course, is Nick Gargiulo. This is his 6th year of college football, 24 career starts. So total, the 4 I mentioned who've been on campus, 102 games played in a Gamecock uniform, 41 SEC starts. That's not peanuts. It's just a matter of making sure that these guys, like JC, you've said this multiple times, we've seen every one of them play guard and tackle. Matter of fact, we've seen a couple of them play guard and center and tackle. So they've all kind of cross-trained. It's just a matter of what's going to be the best fit for each of them.
Yeah, they're good players. I mean, Vershawn Lee is a good player. Ja'Kai Moore is a good player. Tyshawn Wanamaker has been a good player. Trey Jones has – the reason they signed Trey Jones is he ran 4.61
it's nuts.
At that size. He played fullback and called a touchdown pass, man, against Auburn. Shane actually said – I thought the Clemson game was the first time they had faced big adversity early and came back and won besides East Carolina. But he reminded me of that Auburn game, and he was right. But, it's just going to be a matter of –
You mentioned Spurrier. Shane's got a lot of that in him. He remembers the ball.
He remembers it.
He's good at that.
He got me on that because I'm usually good at that stuff. I was sitting there thinking about it. But anyway, I'll tell you that right now. It's it's one of those things where all these guys – that's the blessed – it's a blessing and a curse up front right now on offense. The blessing is you've got older guys that have played a lot of football. The curse is you have a significant injury because Jalen Nichols was about to have one of his best year at left tackle. They were like – once they got out of last season, they were like, Jalen Nichols is going to go to the NFL, because he settled in. So left tackle is obviously important, right? Pretty key position, left tackle is. And so, you lost him. And so you really, if you go with the veteran 5, that includes Nick Gargiulo now, you're starting Wanamaker, Jones, Lee, and Moore. Well, where does Wanamaker? Is Wanamaker really going to be a tackle this year? He's gotten a lot thinner, but almost too thin. So, is Sidney Fugar from Western Illinois, the transfer, going to be ready? I mentioned the 2 walk-ons, and JB's been hearing this. Nene Manziel from Mercer and Jackson Hughes from Charlotte. Those aren't like your typical walk-ons. I mean, those guys played a lot of ball at those 2 places. They're going to, at the very least, provide depth. Not going to shock me at all if one of them starts at all.
I agree. Yeah,
especially Hughes. So, and then Manziel has arguably been more impressive athletically than Hughes. Mm-hmm. So, and then you have a lot of talent behind them in the younger classes. I'm curious to see how healthy Case and Henry is this year. I'm hoping that maybe the doom and gloom about his health status would be a little bit overblown, but I'm not sure about that. I think he's maybe another year away. I think Big Tree Babalade, or they call him just Tree now. He's listed as Tree on the roster. Like Tree. That's the first athlete I've seen listed as Tree since Tree Rollins. Remember Tree Rollins?
Sure, yeah.
Where did he play basketball in college? They might know. The team in the Upstate.
Did he play Clemson?
Oh, really?
Tree Rollins played at the team in the Upstate. Played for my beloved Atlanta at the time. My beloved Atlanta Hawks.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't
That's
name a player.
That's what I couldn't name. He played for the Hawks. You're talking about.
I couldn't name a player on there. Trey Young was, I think, is on their roster now. But yeah, I mean, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago, and I didn't even care. When I was a kid, they lost they could have clinched the Eastern semis against the Celtics and Bird at home in the Omni with Dominique and those guys, and they lost by 2 points, and I cried. That's how much I've gone from giving a flip to not giving a flip about the NBA. But Tree Rollins, yeah. So that's first person I've seen listed on a roster named Tree since that. And that's a lot easier to pronounce than Olawatosin or Olawatasin.
Yeah, Babalata.
Todd Ellis is just going to be like, oh, now I'm a Tree. Oh, hurt me. Oh. But Tree and Marquis. So look, Tree and Jatavius Shivers are probably not going to play this year. They're going to coach up and see. I do think Marquis Anderson and Trovon Ball will play, and I think with Marquis coming in the spring helped him. Don't think for a minute though that Trovon won't be the guy if there's just one that plays. They think he's physically mature, and he is as an interior guy. So they really like him. They think he was a steal. Kid was a 4-star prospect the whole entire process. Goes to the Under Armour game, plays his butt off. And then all of a sudden, somebody's got to drop. Let's drop that kid that goes to South Carolina.
Right.
And I know that sounds bad for me to say. And if you listen to the late night Gamecock show last night, I sort of started talking about it. I'm just going to call it out because I've asked questions about recruiting rankings. I used to be in that business. I'm not pretending to do anybody's job for them, but by God, I could explain it. And the explanation I got the other day was like a fan. Like they were explaining it to a fan. Like it was like this, well, here's how you evaluate talent. And I responded and I go, thanks for the lesson on evaluating talent, man. You learn something new every day. And the dude was like, oh, hey, no problem, buddy, anytime. I'm like, this particular person was in the business working for a rival company when I was running the show at 24/7. But anyway, so I'm just going to say it. This guy, let's drop somebody. Well, let's drop this kid going to South Carolina because we certainly aren't going to drop anybody going to a brand name school that we ranked 2 years too early. That brand name school's probably trying to get out of it anyway. Well, by God, they can't fall below 90. But Trovon Ball, who has a 4.0 Pace Academy, committed early, had great offers like Arkansas, clearly is athletic. Yeah, he goes to the Under Armour game and plays very well. Oh, let's just drop him. Nobody will notice. It's like the Christopher Walken psychic friends. Just call. No one will know. Yes, we know, idiots. I'm not calling those people idiots. I'm just saying we know for whatever. But so that's the deal there. So anyway, back to the offensive line. Don't be surprised if Ball plays before Anderson. It's not a knock on Anderson. Anderson's going to be really good. But I kind of think they're going to try to get Anderson to maybe be a swing guy at tackle and guard this year. Maybe not left tackle, but at tackle and guard. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and all that good stuff. And then, the next year, you've got 3 studs coming in from in-state, including what I believe, honestly, without question, to be the top 2 tackles in the country. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. And I'm not the only one that lives outside of South Carolina that feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even care about the guy. Needless to say, probably Gamecock haters that feel that way. So anyway, I'm going to preach.
Well, Trovon Ball, just to kind of back up a little bit of what you're saying there, did have 8 SEC offers. And that's just in the SEC. Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and a host of others out there, West Virginia, you name it, they all offered this young man as well. What's really interesting is his recruiting profile originally listed him at 6'4", 315 pounds, but I know y'all received the same thing that I did from Coach Fink just a couple of weeks ago, the updated roster, and he is now listed at 6'4", 337. So, if that's true, of course, that 315 could have maybe been from a year or two prior and it just never been updated. Nonetheless, he is heavier, but it's not because he got to school and ate McDonald's all day. So to your point, yeah, he's a young man who's well built, and if he can figure it out, might have a chance to play his way into the rotation somewhere along the line. But I think to back up what you said, JC, I think that they really do like where they are with a lot of the guys that they have. I don't know that they're as deep as they'd like to be. Of course, I think they probably like to say that they had 2 or 3 more guys with tremendous experience at this level, but they don't have that. But they like the talent that they have. It's just a matter of figuring out who goes where and then bringing along that next group. And by all means, from everything I've been told from the 2 people that I actually truly trust on this, Lonnie Teasley with Coach Adkins kind of watching over his shoulder has done a remarkable job at getting these guys ready to play coming up in August. You talk about a steal, that might be another steal right there as far as an O-line coach, somebody that just literally came out of nowhere and probably by the end of this year is going to have somebody knocking on Shane Beamer's door to talk to him about another position.
Yeah, I think Lonnie is a rising star in the business, just like Travian Robertson and Sterling Lucas. And, you know, you got some really good coaches like Jody Wright. I mean, it's a good staff. And, you know, I think, too, just like with everything else as far as the offense goes, Dowell, and that's one thing we did not ask Coach Beamer about is Dowell and the offense. But
he probably appreciated that.
I think really that, we were too interested in learning about the fact that he likes the Wonder Years and Stand By Me and the movies like that. The
he
Goonies.
was a big Fraggle Rock and He-Man guy.
Fraggle Rock guy, He-Man. Yeah. We learned all about the head coach today. Yeah. But no, it's I think just like with every other part of the offense, the less confused you are, the better. And to run the kind of stuff they were attempting to run, I'm going to start calling it the make the coach look good offense. Because that's what he's just trying to do, make himself look good. Put stuff on tape. Oh, look at what I got these college kids to do. Hire me, Rams. You know, all the stuff and all the confusion, all the nuance. You know, offensive line just need to line up and go play, right? Just line up and go play. You're going to pull every now and then. You're going to have your center call out the coverages and defense, but line up and go play. And I think they'll be doing a lot more of that this year. And Teasley really did do a good job down the stretch with them, even with that hindering them. So I think it could be a year where all these older guys do put it together finally, and it kind of serves as a bridge year to get them into next year where you know, some of these younger guys that are talented will have to take over.
We are teed up by travelingcountryclub.com. It's the coolest club in the Carolinas. If you play golf and you don't play golf through Traveling Country Club, then you're not really playing golf. It is the best deal that there is that exists in 2 states, South Carolina and North Carolina. I assure you, I promise you, we think there have been, I don't know, maybe 100 of you or so by now who this is the last number or somewhere close to that I was told that have signed up for travelingcountryclub.com. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. It is an awesome deal. Michael Maness, former golfer at the University of South Carolina, is one of the great owners of this company, and you can play from the mountains to the sea. We're right around the corner from fall, so maybe you're planning to take a trip to the mountains and play. If you're watching, you can see the beautiful colors there at the Waynesville Country Club in that image. TravelingCountryClub.com, the best deals out there in golf. It is time for a timeout. We are going to go to 1:30 today. John Whittle is ahead at 12:30, but we'll take our first break now, and we'll be right back. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're in the real estate market in the Low Country or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. You hear me and see me every day here on Inside the Gamecocks, and it would be an honor to earn your business. I've been around real estate my entire life, as it's somewhat of a family business. I work with an elite team of experts from loans to insurance to closing, and they make my clients and my life very easy. It really is elite. Coast to Coast Realty SC.com is where you can find our staff, and you can always reach out to me here as well. Go Gamecocks.
Coach Joe here, and when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight off the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Welcome back, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. First hour of the show presented to you, as always, by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call at 864-414-5271 for all your Upstate residential real estate needs. And JB, we heard about a couple times, kind of teased it a little bit yesterday about some offensive stats and observations that you have. So what have you got? Throw it at us.
The old man of offense. I guess I'll just send this to Shane and let him create a T-shirt for it, NIL related. But if you actually step back for a second, just listen to these numbers, and I can give you a breakdown. And now, look, I know that some of these guys have come from other places, but I'm talking just about the fact that you're going to put a bunch of dudes on the field who just played a ton of college football. I don't even have the snap counts, and I'm not going to attempt. That's a John Whittle job. Let him add it up. These are the guys whose names you're most likely to hear the most this fall. Mario Anderson, DeCarrion Joyner, Juju McDowell, at least as it stands today. It could be a DJ Braswell or something like that comes up. But Mario Anderson, DeCarrion Joyner, Juju McDowell, and then at the wideout position, and I'm calling it the wideout or the stretch because you've got receivers and tight ends kind of mixed in there. Juice, DeCarrion, Amarian Brown, Xavier Legette, Eddie Lewis, Trey Knox, and Josh Simon. So, when you actually add all of this up here, you have 35 years of college football experience between that group. 35 years. I'm going to say this again. 35 years. The youngest of them all is Juju McDowell. And we'll get into his stats in just a moment. 72 career SEC starts, 195 SEC games played, 356 overall games played, 123 touchdowns scored combined between that group, 123, and 10,881 overall yards gained, either receiving or running the football. Now, of course, the big number there is going to be Mario Anderson's 3,301 rushing yards that he brings with him from Newberry. Newberry is nowhere near playing in the SEC, but he's been playing college football for 4 years, and he does bring a bunch of experience with him, and that is something that's been pointed out to me over and over again. I know it's been pointed out to you, JC, because you have continued to say you're going to expect a little bit more out of this guy based on what we've heard over the last few months. 35 total touchdowns. He knows how to find the end zone, and he's done it a lot over the years. But think about this for a second. Josh Simon, over 1,100 receiving yards in his career as a, quote, tight end. Juice Wells, almost 2,000 receiving yards, and we don't have to expand on him anymore. Jacarrion Joyner, with everything he's done at quarterback, you're also talking about 800 total yards in his career. Marion Brown, Xavier Legette, Eddie Lewis, 1,200 receiving yards. I mean, these guys, Dre Knox, it really is astounding. And then you take in the fact that Spencer Rattler has also, been around a while, 36 games played with 30 games started and now 13 in the SEC. The stats they do matter because that means somebody is or is not a playmaker, and I get that. But they also kind of don't, because we know, and we saw it firsthand last year at times where we felt like dudes were misused. What I'm getting at here is you've got a bunch of people who actually understand things better. And if you go back to anything that you've done in life, you do best what you do often. And sometimes it's just because you understand how difficult it is to do it, right? So I remember when I first started in media, it took me a while to figure it out. If you first start as an insurance agent, it takes you a while to figure it out. It doesn't matter what you do. And these guys, they're all very comfortable playing the game of college football at this speed, at this level, the demands on and off the field. What do you need to do when you're not practicing and all those type things? So you bring Dowell Loggins in, you have Spencer Rattler, and you have 35 years of combined collegiate experience from your playmakers. I guess the main message is you don't have a bunch of young guys who you're trying to teach the game to at this level. They know how to play the game at this level. It's just more figuring out exactly who you are collectively going to be. And, for South Carolina, they're going to have a lot to replace at the end of the 2023 season, but we got a long ways to go to get there. And that is a big time positive when you talk about this team. I mentioned the 41 career starts by the SEC linemen already. There's enough on the offensive side of the football to say there's a lot of experience. They can use that experience to maybe surprise some people.
I think it's a good bridge year, JB, because it's almost ideal for a year 3 situation. And the transfer portal and the COVID year both have helped there not be bigger holes than maybe, would have happened under normal circumstances. And you've got all those experienced guys. You got a good core of guys that have played a lot of ball. And then you have a lot of young green players that haven't played a whole lot. And they're going to be depending, as Beamer said earlier, on JC and Morgan, on true freshmen at just about every position in the 2 deep, not starting, in the 2 deep. And so I think that's ideal because you're not terribly deep at a number of positions, but your starters are very experienced, then you have a chance to kind of get the young guys the needed experience to where the bottom doesn't fall out next year because these guys have played, and you don't have to necessarily sacrifice the perils of playing a lot of youth. Clemson was in this situation a few years back, if you guys remember. Really, really good team, high expectations, and everybody kind of made fun of Dabo because he's like, "We're the youngest team in the country." Well, if you went and did the math, they were, believe it or not. But they also, the team that won them that was a core group of older guys that carried them that year, Deshaun Watson included. So I think this is if you're going to be young at certain and not have Alabama depth or Georgia depth or Ohio State depth, which is most schools, this is a situation you want to be in where you've got a core group of guys that have just played an unbelievable amount of football. And then even though your more talented players may be younger, that's good because you got the older folks to set the example, and you don't have to put a lot of pressure on a lot of young players to go out there and perform at a high level.
Having it so heavily weighted on one side of the ball as opposed to the other, do you think that's, ultimately that's going to end up helping what looks to be kind of the opposite situation on defense?
That's an interesting observation. Yeah, I think that's an interesting observation. JC, what do you think? Because I think that if someone gave me the option, they said you can have 35 years of experience from this group on offense or defense, I think I would take it on offense just because of where the game has gone today. But would you rather have that on one side of the ball or the other? Do you think it matters? I mean, it's great to have an experienced defense. I get that. But I would rather have the experience on offense. No, you can't win unless you score points these days, and we all know that.
I like veteran offenses better than veteran defenses. I mean, I think you can get by with being young on defense in a lot of ways if you're very talented. I mean, Texas A&M last year, they weren't a dominant defense, but they were pretty doggone salty, right?
Sure.
And and they were very young. Now, on offense, very young a lot of times means you're running the wrong route, your quarterback's making mistakes, you're missing blocks, you're hitting the wrong hole as a running back, you're fumbling, bumbling, stumbling, and that can really hurt you. Defense, it's missed assignments and things of that nature, but those defensive players, as Cam Smith said last year, drop your nuts. they drop quicker on defense, I think, a lot of times than offense, just because of the mental side of playing offense. And it's not that you have to be smart to play D. There's checks, there's things you have to learn. But if I'm going to be young, I'd rather be on the defensive side of the ball. So I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally agree. I think that offensively, Carolina is set up. I mean, they really are. You look at this group. They learning to play in a new offense is different from learning to play college football, right? We can all agree on that. And now if you're stepping into an offense like what they, previously had, you're going, I don't know what I'm doing out here. I understand that too. But again, it all comes down to two things, and we continue to go back to this. We continue to go back to this. We continue to go back to this. Your quarterback and your offensive coordinator. If they click, it will click. And so far, at least the returns are pretty good. So, but we'll find out soon because they start practicing next Friday. It really is an amazing. It's 35 years, guys. 35 years of collegiate experience between that group. I just wow. Not to mention, it's called leadership. Here you have a bunch of guys who've been there, done that, and they know what it takes. All right, let's take our second break of hour one. If you're joining us late, we did join ourselves late, as a matter of fact. At 11:30, JC and Morgan had Shane Beamer on this morning. We will have John Whittle on coming up at 12:30. He's our version of Shane Beamer. We will have Shane Beamer on this program in the future and before football season, just so everybody is aware as well. Coaches, he'll be sure to join us before they get rolling against North Carolina. That game yesterday officially announced College Game Day in Charlotte. We'll talk about that and more when we return inside the Gamecocks, the show powered by our friends, everybody's friends, Electric Bikes of Charleston.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barn Dough Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
Welcome to TravelingCountryClub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to TravelingCountryClub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, TravelingCountryClub.com, TravelingCountryClub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
Big things happening. This is great. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show. Almost forgot what show I was on here.
Good.
My computer flipped me the bird when I clicked the button because I worked at we burned the midnight oil last night and then jumped on and started streaming real early this morning with JC and Morgan. It's like, what are you doing to me?
Our pets. How about the tweet I sent you from Shooter McGavin? Was that not the funniest thing you've seen in years?
God, I love that. That was
great. That not the funniest tweet? I literally scared my kids. I was laughing so hard. We had laid down in bed to watch a movie, and I just started dying. And my wife was like, "What are you laughing at?" I was like, "Dude, look at this."
Our pets' heads are falling off.
Elon Musk.
Harry, I took care of it.
Pulled a Twitter bird to a local kid.
Oh, I wish I'd have pulled that into the studio. That'd be funny.
Oh God, it was Shooter McGavin is my favorite Twitter account to follow.
It's funny.
It is funny. Best thing on. It is the best thing on it. You know, people love to use Twitter because they think they really think people are going to listen to them. You know, they respond to Fox News and CNN and all this stuff. You realize it's just like an intern running the account, right? Like this guy has nothing to do with policy or nothing to do with none of that. But people literally tweet at these people thinking well, I'm going to engage with Donald Trump today. Yeah, this guy's going to pay attention to me because I've got 13 followers and I live in the middle of Missouri and I'm cool. But so you got to follow something that's funny. The Shooter McGavin Twitter account is the funniest Twitter account ever. He doesn't do anything but crack on everybody. And it's only the people that he can somehow put a movie quote into. And usually, of course, it's Happy Gilmore. But that one was the best he's done. So if you don't follow Shooter McGavin on Twitter, your whole life is on hold. You've got to follow him. And by the way, I met that guy at the Fifth Avenue Deli, or no, the 5-Star Deli in Times Square.
Oh, nice.
The guy who is Shooter McGavin. What's his name?
The actor?
Yeah.
He always plays a jackass.
Yeah, he does.
Well, yeah.
But that's okay. You make good money doing that.
Yeah, I mean, if you play a good jackass.
Yeah, we were literally, when Carrie and I got engaged in New York City, you got
engaged in New York City? That's pimp.
Got engaged in Central Park during Christmas, as a matter of fact. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's even more pimp. Congratulations.
Yeah, Christopher McDonald. Thanks,
Christopher McDonald. There you go. It was the day after. It was with JC, you know him. Nobody else here does, but it was me and Carrie and my cousins, Robbie and Kelly. And we were at the Fifth Avenue Deli, standing in line, and we're standing right next to the naked cowboy who had a fur. He had underwear on and a fur coat. That's it. And a cowboy hat. And he did have his guitar. So we talked to him for a second. He gave my new fiance and my cousin Kelly a hug and a kiss, which was fine. I was like, "It's a naked cowboy. Yeah, go for it." And then we're literally standing there about to pay, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Shooter McGavin." And Carrie was like, "Shut up, man. You don't want me to hear you." I'm like, I do want him to hear me.
Hey, how you doing? I guess the price was wrong, man.
It was awesome. I couldn't believe
start
it.
quoting Happy Gilmore quotes, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hey,
why'd you take Apollo Creed's hand, man?
No, I asked him if he'd meet me on the 9th green at 9 that night, and he said no.
No.
He's like, so meet me on the 9th green at 9.
I'm leaning towards yes, but no.
Dude.
No.
One of the by the way, everybody talks about Happy Gilmore, and that's fine because Happy Gilmore's heavy. But Shooter McGavin made the movie. Like he made that movie.
Oh yeah,
because he was a jerk, but he was a little awkward at the same time.
Right.
Just a little tad bit awkward. You're like, it's kind of know.
Well,
kind of like Skeletor from He-Man.
I just may. What do you say?
Like Skeletor from He-Man. Sort of awkward.
Yeah.
As a villain. And now Skeletor's in a ton of memes. Like he shows up and gives advice and then runs away and he's like, till we meet again.
How do you?
I'm like, wow, Skeletor. Yeah, He-Man. He'll show up and be like, hey, the price of tea in China is not relevant to this conversation until we meet again.
How do you, Phil? Can you share that?
Let me see. Hold on. Let's see. I can pull that up.
Can you, for anybody that hasn't seen it or doesn't do Twitter, or what is it? Is it X or Twitter? Twitter? What do we call this thing now?
I'm just going to call it Twitter.
That's what I thought. That's kind of what I assumed. Well, I'll just go with Twitter until somebody says that I can't do that anymore. I mean, it still says tweet.
Yeah, I've got Tweet Deck up right now, and the pretty bird is on there. So
yeah, you got it, Phil?
I'm working. Hold on.
I know for those who come back and listen to this later on in podcast form, they're gonna be like, these doofuses.
That's a great freaking radio.
Yeah,
it's funny. I actually pulled it up. It's got the damn X on it. Twitter does.
Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah, that's nuts. Whatever. Here we go. Yeah, I can share the screen here.
Can you share it for those that aren't that haven't seen this on Twitter? Shooter McGavin calling it like he sees it yesterday with the Twitter bird being sold.
No, I just got the number, but this isn't with the shooter.
There it is. Scroll up. Oh, no, that's not it. No, that's not it.
That's not it. Hold on.
You got to go to Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, hold on. Let's go to Explorer.
Okay. Well, so while Phil is showing it, next thing we're going to see is like AsianMen.com. Like, oh no, wait.
Whoa! What about? Hold on now.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Breaking. Elon Musk sold the Twitter bird to a local kid this morning.
What was his name? Billy something?
Billy and Forsey.
Billy and Forsey? The blind kid?
You sold.
He didn't even have a head. Harry, I took care of it.
Yeah.
Dude, Dumb and Dumber is first of all, I love Dumb and Dumber because it's a kind of it's a love story.
Dude, Dumb and Dumber.
It is. It's
awesome.
a romantic movie, love story. You know, how are the chances that a guy like you and a boy like me, a guy like you and a girl like
you and a guy like me.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I literally had somebody do that to me on ESPN. We were doing movies naturally in the middle of summer, like 5-6 years ago. And the guy calls in and goes, I totally disagree with you. And I was like, what? He said, Dumb and Dumber. That movie is so dumb. I was like, you do hear yourself, right? That's the point of the movie. Like
that is the point of the movie.
Yes, they nailed it. That was the whole point. Like,
my friend's a little slow. The town is that way. We're looking for a couple of oil boys to travel around the country with us. And there's just and he's like, oh yeah, you're in luck. There's a town back that way. He's like, do you realize what you've done?
Dude, it's so
my friend's a little slow. The town is that way.
I literally
get 20 miles
that,
per gallon on this hog.
Between that and Happy Gilmore and the original American Pie, like if I've got a bottle of bourbon and a full Saturday with no family around, I'll watch all three of them. I'll probably lose 20 pounds laughing at those three movies all day long. I mean, it is.
I love it. I can't drink and watch movies.
Really?
Sounds weird. I'm more of a listen to music guy. I can't focus on them. Now,
that's not.
If I take a gummy or two,
oh God,
I'll watch movies all day long and twice on Sunday. I'll be living that. I'll live the movie if I take a gummy. I'm like all paranoid. I'm like all paranoid and all that, and you're like, what's wrong with you, JC? I'm just into this. You're watching Police Academy. Yeah, but how do they keep up in it in the Blue Oyster over and over, man?
Is this
conspiracy,
regarding
man?
JC, you know this show is rated 13 plus, right? We don't.
Yeah, hey, you'll never. We got to tell the story, Phil. And I think I've told this before.
Please tell me this is about like gummy bears.
So no, I'm over at Dina and Phil's. We'd had a little party at their crib. Nice night, and it's about time for everybody to get in bed and JC to get in the Uber, and I'm sitting there waiting on the Uber, and they pop in a movie. And Harrison Ford walks across the screen, and I'm like, is this regarding Henry? And it was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Jones movies.
It was Indiana
Jones. Like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And so about like the next Christmas, I'm in Toys R Us, and I see the Raiders of the Lost Ark action figures, and I'm making this meme, and it's like, excuse me, where are your regarding Henry action figures? And I'm like, I've never lived that down, but I'll laugh at myself for coming up with that. Is this regarding Henry?
It just, the thought that you saw Harrison Ford in the first movie that popped into your head.
Well, and then Henry. The thought that you guys were about after a long night of having a blast, that you're just going to pop in some regarding Henry and
throw in some regarding Henry.
Come on. That's not your style at all.
But that's
just going to go home and take a puff, do something, and maybe get a sandwich and watch regarding Henry.
What?
And pass out.
By the way, that is you might have just unearthed a new way to have a movie conversation. You have the party is leaving. You have one movie to put in to keep the party at your house. What's it going to be? That's a good question. It's a good question. You think about that for a second. That's a good question. One movie. You can't Google it, JC.
To keep it moving?
Hey, everybody's leaving. And remember, boy, this party really died. There's a Dumb and Dumber quote for you when he pops the owl with the champagne. The champagne pop. The party dies. Everybody's going to leave. What is one movie that you put in that says, okay, everybody's going to stay?
Oh, Clint's got a good one. That's an excellent.
And in the words of Michael Flint, you can't say Saving Ryan's Privates.
You're gonna stay for Saving Privates. Whatever the privates. Private. Are we talking about? Is this Private Benjamin? No.
Is this Private Benjamin?
No. So you're gonna stay for at least the first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. After that, I thought that movie got a little slow.
I think you missed me. I think you missed what I was saying. Flint said Saving Ryan's Privates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right in line with what Bruin was kind of thinking.
Yeah, Debbie does.
Good Dallas. Misspelling, though, Bruin. That way I can put it on there.
Jan, Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if I'm at a party. I'm gonna get
Clint, that's gross.
Maybe I don't know.
Depends on the vibe of the party.
Well, I mean, who wants to watch? No, Shawshank Redemption, Jan. That ain't gonna keep me. It's got to be like American Pie. Like it's got to be something that you're just gonna laugh at.
Why not pop in like a Pink Floyd live album and play it on the stereo or something? Or Eric Church. I don't care if it's Eric Church.
You're moving the goalpost. I'm talking about a movie. You can't just come up with your own narrative. If it was going to be a musical question, duh. Yeah, you put on Eric Church. Everybody's
because I don't watch movies when I drink. I just don't. I'd rather. By the way, not to change the subject, but how much are you going to drop a load in your dighties, JB, when Eric Church is the guest picker on game day in Charlotte,
pulling for North Carolina,
and picks the Tar Heels,
pulling for the Tar Heels? What they should do is they should have
him and Darius.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think that would be awesome. In fact, I have heard nothing. I have no scoop about it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did it. It wouldn't surprise me if they did that.
They're good for. That's the only thing I saw Darius playing golf last week. That's the only thing I wanted to ask him was, so what's Eric's house like in Tennessee? But I didn't.
I think since it's the first game day, and look, Mike made a good point today too. Is like this is the first weekend. I mean, week 0 sort of sucks. That first weekend, man, everybody's tuned in. That's huge for South Carolina. Huge.
Oh, everybody! It's going to be absolutely. Matter of fact, it's 12:30. Let's hit our break because we're at the end of hour number 1. We'll ask John Whittle about that when he gets here. John actually texted me and said, hey, what are we talking about today? And I responded with gymnastics. So load those questions into the portal as well.
Nice.
Bruin says, let's get drunk and watch Titanic, guys.
I kind of like where Quantrell's going with this one. Y'all can read that. I won't say it live.
Yeah, I saw that too.
On the air, but Quantrell's
about the first Wives Club. Let's watch that. How about The Devil Wears Prada, guys? Where are you guys going? Man, The Devil Wears Prada's about to start, bro.
Yeah.
What? You gotta clean your cat?
Old school's a good one.
Now I watch old school every now and then, especially the beginning, especially when the Dan band's playing.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. We're painted garnet and black by a couple of painters. Hang tight. John Whittle up next on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Welcome back, everybody. It's that hardcore.
That's how you play Sandstorm.
Yeah,
right
no
there.
doubt.
12:33 on a Tuesday afternoon. John Whittle, the busy. Hey, John, JC and Mike had Coach Beamer on this morning on the JC and Morgan show. They asked him, "Who's your favorite reporter?" And he said David Cloninger. Can you believe that?
I 100% believe that. Yeah.
100%.
He gets the first question.
Yeah, that's right.
I love DC now. Do y'all? What do you do? All right. Do you walk in the room and everybody just acknowledges, don't do it. Don't ask before David. Does he say, hey guys, I've got the first question? Like, what happens in there?
Exactly what you think happens. We're all sitting there watching him, waiting for him to talk. So
thanks for doing this, Shane.
He walks in, he's got like a 9 shoved in his belt loop, and you can see it through his shirt, and he's like, how you doing, guys? DC. Yeah. Well,
we love DC.
I love David. He's one of the coolest guys on the planet.
He is amazing.
He's sneaky funny, isn't he, John? He'll catch you when you're not paying attention.
He's sneaky funny, and he knows a little bit about a lot of things. So he's dangerous. He's
great
dangerous.
to catch a conversation with. Yeah, super.
All right, John. So we brought you on to ask you the all-important question. Whittle's throwing a banger at his house, and everyone's leaving around midnight because it's gotten boring. But you can put one movie in to keep them all partying with you. What movie are you putting on the TV?
I'd probably go with The Nutty Professor.
Oh,
hold on. Oh, which one?
The original?
First one.
That is out of left field. Good one.
Yeah, that first one that comes to mind.
That is
Eddie Murphy? That one?
Yeah.
Or are we talking Jerry Lewis?
No. Yeah.
No.
You're talking about Eddie Murphy when he plays like all of the characters.
Yeah. That one. Okay, yeah. Jerry Lewis one. I like that.
Have you watched? I haven't seen that movie forever. Have you watched it recently?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen that in probably 15 or 20 years.
That was the most solid answer that I could have expected. No one saw that coming. Nobody.
No, that's an excellent answer.
That's an excellent answer. All right, John. We appreciate it, man. You have a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. And we'll
thanks, guys. See you later.
That's right. That concludes our Whittle.
See you next week.
Well, that's all the time. Dynamite segment, John.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, well, I'll ask if y'all don't, because I've been talking.
Start with baseball. Start with
Talk
baseball.
about McCoy, man. McCoy, the real McCoy. Talk about McCoy.
Big get for the Gamecocks. Left-handed pitcher, in-state kid from Catawba Ridge High School. He was signed to play for Wofford. Their head coach Todd Interdonato left to go to Boston College, and just didn't feel quite right anymore. So got out of that NLI, excuse me, and had several ACC, SEC schools calling him. Couple of professional organizations tried to lure him with a free agent contract with 6-figure signing bonuses, and went on a couple of trips and decided South Carolina was the best spot. But he's a 94, 95 mile an hour lefty, good breaking ball, throws enough strikes right now, can probably get a little bit better in that way. But it's a huge pickup, and apart from he's probably the most talented pitcher that South Carolina could have gotten here late in the cycle. Obviously, some of these transfer portal guys have more experience. They're, older. You've pitched college games before. Like, do you take Dominic Nyman or do you take Jake McCoy? McCoy's a much better pitcher, and you'll have him for longer. Much better upside, and you'll have him for longer. Nyman is somebody who has won a lot of games at the college level. So they're two completely different kinds of guys. But Jake McCoy for 3 years is going to be great for the Gamecocks.
Real quick, let me just interject this. We'll come back to it after we get done with John. But it does appear that some breaking news from college football: Jim Harbaugh will be suspended the first 4 games of the season due to false statements that he made to the NCAA during an investigation of recruiting violations. By the way, those first 4 games: East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. So I think they'll be 4-0 when he returns. But we'll come back to that here in just a little while. Yeah. So I've been
a conference game too. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, wait. Go Pirates and Mike Houston, East Carolina. Go up there and pull a shocker. I've been asked about him a bunch. John, I've never seen the kid pitch at all. Obviously, you know him inside and out. I've only been able to reference some of the coaches that I know who have watched him pitch and recruited him. He is go back. Can you go back a little bit? We've got a couple of things going on here. One, it's very rare that any school in the country is able to sign two quality arms the way that South Carolina has done late in the process coming out of high school. The young man from the West Coast and this kid here. Do you know why he chose Wofford originally?
When he committed, that was about, the kind of level he should be at. He was probably a mid-major guy when he committed before his junior year of high school. And he's a smart kid, a really smart kid. And, Wofford obviously fits that bill too. North Carolina was one of the schools that was trying to get McCoy here at the end in this cycle. And the academic side of that was very intriguing for him. But yeah, that's just kind of where he was at that time. And he's much better now.
And that's obviously, naturally in baseball that can happen to guys. Number two, though, kind of expand on what I just mentioned a moment ago, how rare this is. We know how early recruiting starts. JC, we've talked to Coach Kingston publicly about this plenty. We've all probably talked to him privately about it as well, and the fact that these days you're recruiting kids, so you have no idea where they're going to be in 4 or 5 years, but you got to do it. And here we are in the 11th hour to build the 24 roster. South Carolina gets 2 elite arms, one who was headed to Air Force, Joey Whittig, I think his name. John, you've talked about him on our program a lot and written about him. And now you get Jake McCoy, and they weren't even on the radar seemingly a month ago. And both of these young men are guys who are going to have a chance to really contribute.
Right. And, it doesn't happen very often. It happens occasionally. Julian Bosnick was actually one that was similar. He was at Wake Forest and some things happened, or he was a Wake Forest signee and some things happened there that, kept him from being able to enroll there. And South Carolina ended up getting him, very late in the process. So it happens occasionally, but not very often. And you might see a little bit more when coaching changes happen, like is the case here. And it's rare. It's rare, but South Carolina's taking advantage of it twice here now this summer. And, you went from a 2023 recruiting class that was incredibly weak to one that looks a whole lot better, because between those two guys, meaning Whittig and McCoy, plus Eddie Copper and Tyler Pitzer, that's 4 like freshman guys who could conceivably have a pretty major role this year. And that's, that's not real typical to have 4 freshmen come in and be able to pitch. And I think all 4 of those guys can. And then, there's another guy out there named Javar Martin, who's from Georgia Premier, a big lefty, 6'5", 6'6", right in that range, who's been up to 94 miles an hour. He can't throw strikes right now, but by golly, if they can figure out how to get him to throw strikes between now and the end of next season, he can be helpful for him next year too. So you've got 4, maybe 5 guys who can come in and be a factor next year on the mound in this high school recruiting class.
Well, that seems to – there's a couple of guys like that, John. We'll put baseball to bed and shift over to the gridiron here after this final quick question on it. But, they also, by the way, have signed Michael Polk, a transfer from Georgia, and maybe you can give us a little bit more background. He's a guy who's got a chance to be really good. But overall, when you look at this the transfer class, you just hit on the high school class. On the transfer class for South Carolina, when you put it all together, offensively, we know what they've gotten here. Now you bring in the guys that they're getting out from a staff standpoint. I don't know that it's fair to ask you necessarily to rate the transfer class, but do you feel like they address their needs? And do you feel like, as Coach Tanner used to say, they have at least somewhat reloaded for 2024?
Yeah, I think so. I would have liked to have seen them be able to add another starter caliber kind of guy. You're a little bit thin from a starting pitcher standpoint, starter innings standpoint. You feel good about a Becker and a Jones and Roman Kimball coming off of injury. You feel really good about Ty Good from College of Charleston. McCoy is a guy who can throw starter type innings. Same with Eddie Copper and Tyler Pitzer. But those 3 guys are freshmen. I would have liked to have seen one more like starter kind of guy who, even if he ends up being a midweek starter, like it's still somebody who can go out and eat 5 or 6 innings. That I think is the only thing that they didn't address, maybe as well as could have happened. But they do have a whole bunch of arms on that roster now, and it's going to be a matter of kind of piecing it together a little bit and finding the right spots for guys. And maybe Eddie Copper does come in and throw really well and can throw starter type innings or Pitts, or for example. But that's kind of the only shortfall that I really see. I think they've improved at most positions out there. Shortstop is still a little bit of a question mark in terms of who replaces Braylon Wimmer, but they didn't recruit a shortstop out of the portal, and they didn't try. So it's not like that they missed; it's they just didn't try. They feel good about Will Tippett. They feel good about Lee Ellis, a freshman coming in this class, and feel like one of those 2 guys are going to be able to handle that position. Both are really solid defensively. Tippett has Tippett has a lot of upside with the bat. He showed a little bit of power. He was able to do some things, especially later on in the year. But shortstop is the question mark. But other than that, I feel really good about what that roster looks like.
We'll be fair to the guys that are currently on the roster and those that are coming in playing summer baseball, and we'll get an update from you on them down the road once they've been able to more complete their summers and get kind of a full picture on what they achieved. We'll kind of ease you into some football here. John, who do you think the starting quarterback will be this year for South Carolina?
Well, there's so much talk about Lenora Sellers. You can rule him out. but no, of course, the whole, I'm excited to see Spencer this year and see how he progresses under the new offensive coordinator over there, getting out of the Satterfield reign and into the Dowell Loggins reign. So I'm excited to see what that looks like for sure.
John, we did I decided to do some math yesterday, which was, should have seen the smoke coming out of my ears, but I achieved my goal. Between Mario Anderson, DeCarrion Joyner, Juju McDowell, Juice Wells, Amarian Brown, Xavier Leggett, Eddie Lewis, Trey Knox, and Josh Simon, it's kind of the core group going into the season. Certainly, maybe a name or two will emerge that end up being better than all of them or right in the mix with the rest of them. But that's the group that they've – what's that?
Did you put Nick Harbor in there or no?
Well, no, I've got a point. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're all good. Between those guys, you have 35 years of collegiate experience, 35 coming into the season. And then you've got over 10,000 yards of total offense. You have 123 total touchdowns scored in that between that group, 195 SEC games played, 72 SEC starts, and 356 overall college football games played between that group of offensive weapons. We don't know how good the offense is going to be, but generally, John, when you got a bunch of guys who've played a lot of ball and you got a quarterback who's played a lot of ball, the learning curve is much easier to get through or over than had they not played a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. That helps out tremendously. And you mentioned DeCarrion Joyner. Like I'm excited to see him at running back, and part of the reason is he's been asked to do everything on the field at some point during his college career. Like he knows what's going on. Like even though he went through spring practices, part running back, part wide receiver, part quarterback, and then kind of shifted the focus more over to that running back spot as time went on, and now basically completely at that spot. Like even though he's been in that position a short time, like he knows what to do. He's always known what to do. Like your point is really a good one, in that when you've been around it, like offenses change, but they only change so much. Like the concepts are largely pretty similar. So it's gonna be okay with coming in and learning a new offensive system. They're going to be fine. So a ton of experience there across the board offensively, and even on the offensive line. Like that's obviously going to be a key to the success of what the offense can be this year. But they've got a bunch of starts, they've got a bunch of snaps. So they're to me that's how that O-line performs is bigger question mark for me than what happens at running back. But those guys have so much experience playing, you feel pretty good about them continuing to grow.
Specifically regarding Joyner, though, Whittle, JC credits you with, saying that coming out of high school, running back might actually be his most natural kind of position, just from the way he looks, moves, plays. And if I said that wrong, he's been saying it for months. So I think, while we all kind of expect, to carry on to do great things wherever he is on the field, right? Could this really be kind of like a breakout year for him, and his best showing at that position?
I think so. And JC's right. And part of the reason I thought that too was he's always had, strong lower body and powerful lower body, which I think is really important for a running back in my opinion. So that's one of the big reasons I always kind of thought if it didn't work out at quarterback that would be a really good spot for him. Some wanted to put him on defense too, and that would have been interesting. But certainly a guy with the ball in his hands who's been able to do some of the things he did in high school at the time, like you want him on the offensive side of the ball. So I forget exactly what question you asked, but I do like him there and think that he can certainly be somebody who is and you just kind of I remember now you talked about kind of a rejuvenating of his career offensively, and somebody threw out the name and Paul Hornig was a quarterback in college ball and made the transition when he got to the NFL. It's a totally different era of college football and pro football, but that he was a great NFL running back after being a great college quarterback. So maybe that happens for him. Maybe his career takes off at the running back position. I know that he's one of really the only guy, minus perhaps Braswell, who can, be, I don't want to say a force, but be competent in between the tackles. He's got the best chance of being a good between the tackles type of runner out of a couple of the other older guys that Jamie listed off earlier. So, I'm excited to see him give it a go.
I think August will be really, really unique when you watch that running back room, John, because nothing is given to any of them at this point in time, including Dakereon Joyner, who has done nothing but earn in his whole career, as we well know. But all of them, seemingly, including DJ Braswell, bring something a little bit different to the table. And so when they really get going, I think if there is a silver lining in any of this, while I understand fans' concern with the group of running backs that is at South Carolina, I get that. Like if Logan Diggs had committed, these conversations would be a little bit different, but he didn't. He's at LSU. With that said, the silver lining, as I was mentioning, is the fact that they're all going to have to kind of bring it every day. And the one who picks it up the earliest and who figures it out is at least as the season starts going to be considered the bell cow. And you'll kind of go from there, right? I mean, I don't know if you want to look at it positively, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and you might be right. I mean, I feel like obviously you want a guy to step up and be the bell cow in the preseason. I don't like calling it fall practice because there's nothing fall about August in South Carolina's preseason practice.
No.
But you would like to see that guy step up. I don't know that that's going to be the case. I feel like going into the season, you're probably going to have a running back rotation with guys being asked to do different things, and maybe based on production, you see some guy emerge to step up and take 75% of the carries or however much. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be really interesting to see how that competition plays out, and whether you are Mario Anderson or DJ Braswell or whoever you are, like, you got to be licking your chops, knowing that everything that I could possibly want to have happen for me is a South Carolina football player playing in the SEC is attainable, because that job is wide open and for anybody to jump up and grab.
John, by the way, this is the last week without practice or game for South Carolina football until we get to December, which is pretty neat. Flipping on the defense, we're not going to get too far into this necessarily because they haven't started practice yet, but flipping over on the defensive side, we've already talked about the offensive line. There's talent there and there's experience there. 41 career SEC starts, at least, between Ja'Kai Moore, Vershawn Lee, Tyshawn Wanamaker, and Trey Jones. That group there has 41 career SEC starts. The defensive side of the football, there's some experience up front as well, but it also, once again, it seems like this is such a unique year for both lines of scrimmage. Talent, we know that, but not necessarily, we don't really know where everybody's going to kind of fit in. I mean, there's been talks of moving guys inside out. There's been talks of this guy moving here and doing that and whatever it is. I guess really the question is, how talented do we think that the rooms are, and that stuff will just sort itself out?
Yeah, and that's a very fair question. And you have some guys on both lines of scrimmage who have been banged up and maybe not quite as good in playing while they're playing. So maybe we haven't seen them at their best at times, and maybe that makes us a little jaded a little bit on how good they can be and what they are and that kind of thing. And then you've had guys who have just been completely out injured, basically their entire career. Like we talked about Jordan Strong, for example, on that defensive line and how good he was going to be last year. And, he looked okay that first game but then got hurt game 2. And, he's just kind of been, I don't want to say forgotten about, because he's a starting defensive end in the SEC, but, we don't really know what he's going to look like, even though he's been in the program for a couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is going to be, fitting some guys into the right spot and finding out what combination works best, especially on the offensive line, but some on the defensive line too, because you got Tonka Hemingway who could play defensive end the entire time. He can play defensive tackle the entire time. I mean, he's going to go back and forth a little bit between both, but how that evolves over the course of the year based on what some of the backups do is going to be kind of intriguing to me. I mean, does Elijah Davis come in and be really good? Does Nick Barrett come in or does Nick Barrett take kind of the next step and what he's done in his development to where Tonka can be on the edge more often? So does Desmond Umeozulu come in and wreak havoc and let Tonka be inside more? It's going to be interesting to see how some of these pieces fit together. You've got guys who have started back on both lines of scrimmage, but they aren't necessarily entrenched in exactly what they're going to do. They've had different roles, and finding them a consistent spot is going to be important this fall.
Yeah, and really, by all means, a new coach as well on both sides. Lonnie Teasley full-time now, but Travian coming in as well. So, all right, so we'll leave on this note here. We talked to Hale about it yesterday. I don't know exactly how much you were able to watch from afar with SEC Media Days, John, but you are one of the pros that covers South Carolina, but just in general covers sports in this state. You're a pro at it. You're really good. And on a serious, it is funny, but it's not funny, because I just want to make sure it doesn't lose its shine. And watching it last week, I began to get a little concerned on Friday, because there's always going to be a couple of Joe Schmoes that show up and ask some ridiculous question, like the guy who told Lane Kiffin he was his long lost brother, and the doofus who asked Shane Beamer why he should be a head coach since he was an offensive defensive coordinator 3 years after everybody else in the country asked the same question.
Gave a great answer, though.
He did. Well, it was a phenomenal
answer.
It was an absolute, and you wrote a column on it. It was a brilliant answer, and he, well done. Hats off to Shane, who's figured.
But yes, dumb questions at SEC Media Days tend to go hand in hand.
They do, and then you get to the voting, and John, I know what they're doing. They want this to be an event. Okay, bravo, that's cool. I'm good with that.
They want it to be a fan event. They want to credential more and more. Okay, I'm good with all of that too. Vanderbilt receiving 5 votes to win the league. Nicky Memori not even showing up on a preseason, and the guy was an All-American last year. He's not preseason All-League. It's hard for me to figure out. I just wonder if the SEC probably needs to kind of internally review what they're going to do here moving forward, because you don't want this to turn into some laughing stock. They've done a nice job with making it the talk of July when there's nothing to talk about in July. But what you don't want is people to start tuning out because it turns into some circus.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it, started a while back when Tim Tebow was asked about, the whether he was a virgin or not. I mean, it started a really long time ago. What kind of question is that? I don't know that we have sunk that low. But certainly Vanderbilt getting votes to win the SEC championship, that makes us as a group look pretty stupid. So, I don't know what can be done about it. Preseason coaches polls seem better to me than media polls, but at the same time, like, I would like for there to be a media vote in preseason and other sports, and there's not. It's coaches stuff. So, I don't know what the right answer for that is. Maybe I know typically when there are big events held, and I thought SEC Media Days was included in this, but definitely for the conference championships, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, what have you. Sports information departments are given a list of the media that have applied from your school, and you're told to either approve them or not approve them. Maybe something like that can happen for SEC Media Days, but at least when it comes to voting privileges, or I know with basketball there's certainly a limited number who are allowed to vote, and maybe that's the right answer. But at the end of the day, it just looks stupid, and I don't really like it. It probably doesn't hurt much. I don't think that those votes, swayed any kind of final projections or anything like that. But it just kind of looks silly.
I'm with you, and I agree with that. I actually talked to Gunnar about this yesterday morning, and the fact Gunnar actually made an interesting point. He said if you really have a question that you want to ask a coach, the main ballroom isn't necessarily the place to ask it. And I don't know that I disagree with him on that at all. I'm all for. My gut tells me, John, that there was probably a bunch of student credential media for Vanderbilt, and they all decided, well, you know what, we're just going to give them a vote, something silly like that. And I'm all for people. It's a networking event. We look forward to being there one day, but take it seriously. And if you can't, then you need to put up some guardrails as to what the rest of the country is going to see, because they probably think that Paul Feinbaum or somebody ridiculous like that has selected Vanderbilt as this year's conference champion, which is not true. All right,
I votes on the BigSpur.com yesterday, and I did not have Vanderbilt winning anything.
I thought yours were very fair. Well, and you know what? Hey, maybe that's something you do, John. Hey, look, if you get a vote, you have to publicly reveal them. If you don't want to do that, then you don't get a vote. I don't know. What do I
like the transparency. I think that would, back a lot of people off of just,
Greg never asked me.
Yeah, no, he doesn't care about what we think.
Nah, but I bet you he cares about being in Charlotte for that first one, North Carolina and South Carolina, and maybe John, Darius Rucker and Eric Church co-guest pickers. We're going to start tweeting that out. So fall in line, okay?
I figured that you guys have reached a status now to where y'all might be guest pickers.
Maybe Phil, Mad Dog Mullinax, he might be able to square him into. Yeah,
I don't know if McAfee and Zigo and My Ego could exist in the same space like that.
I don't know that they're going to want JC up there after spending Friday night in Charlotte. He'd probably look a little rough on that. Stage. Like, we all agree on that. John, what are we looking for the rest of the week on the Big Spur from you?
Well, you just told me a few minutes ago that football starts next week, so I'm going to go take a nap and take the rest of the week off. So I don't have a clue. Y'all just go there and figure it out. And I guess since I got football starting next week, I got to rest up and be ready to roll.
I could give you this if you want to write a column on the old men of offense at South Carolina.
That's right.
Perhaps maybe we'll do that. No, but the Birdies with Beamer event, media golf tournament is tomorrow, and we'll have the opportunity to speak with Shane and all the assistant coaches out there, and some support staff members who will be around. So I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of football content on the Big Spur beginning tomorrow and really going forward.
I played golf right behind Shane last week, and I was supposed to be there tomorrow, but my kids have doctor's appointments, so I'm not playing. And I asked him, I said, who's the best one out there? And he said, what do you mean, on staff? Or I said, no, I don't. I know there's some guys on staff who can play. I know who those guys are. Is there a media member who can play? He goes, no. That was it. Oh, no. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, just get one of the neighbors to take the kids to their doctor's appointments, and you come on up for the tournament tomorrow. You can
that's what made me feel good. I was like, damn, if I was playing, I'd be able to show up all these guys. But maybe we'll play
Rick Henry is the go-to guy. Rick Henry is the man in the media to look after.
I haven't seen anything from Coach Fink. Has he sent out the groups yet? Do you know who you're playing with?
He hadn't sent out anything yet. For all I know, I guess it's still happening tomorrow. We haven't heard a darn thing in a month.
I haven't seen anything. You never know. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. I know you've had a long summer. You do an amazing job. You should know that by now, and I'm speaking for everybody when I say that. And we look forward to getting you on next week as we get ready to crank up preseason practice.
There you go. Good work there. Appreciate you guys having me.
See you, buddy. There you go. John Whittle, the best of the best of the best with the BigSpur.com. We have no idea where JC went, but we wish him all the best as well. All right.
Well, he said he had an appearance, but he left 30 minutes prior to to that start time.
Maybe he saw the news I sent y'all, and he was so excited he had to get off and start drinking. I don't know.
Could be. Hey, something to celebrate. That's for damn sure.
All right, let's hit a timeout. We are live always from the Signorama Studios, the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics. We'll be right back.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Building your dream home is often just that, a dream, and sometimes a nightmare. But at the Barndo Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barndo Company, Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
program, like Carolina Rise, I mean, I can't stress enough how important it is to get involved with these programs, because that goes straight to our student athletes. It goes straight to recruiting. It helps tremendously on multiple levels. And I know that it's one of those things you sometimes don't necessarily get to see it or feel it right away, but you will.
Carolina Rise has been a huge impact in our program. If you don't have good players, you don't compete, bottom line. And these days, as you mentioned, the 11.7 scholarships is not near enough for what baseball players deserve. We have 35 players, only 27 of which can get scholarships. And we have 11.7 scholarships to divide up among those 27 guys. So you're talking about the average player on our team is paying half a scholar or half his way to come here. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. And the NIL market has allowed us to help kids afford to come here. It's helped kids to want to stay here. There are guys on our team that would not be here probably without the NIL. And Carolina Rise has been a huge part of that. You look at, we had 3 draft picks last year that decided to come back to South Carolina. I don't know that happens without the NIL. We appreciate Carolina Rise very much, and everybody that's helping to facilitate that and help our players is a big part of what we're doing now and what we'll do moving forward.
Now, I can tell you, too, that JC and Carolina Rise, that includes many of us who are not, of course, directly running Carolina Rise, but have been really, really, really working hard on some things for Gamecock athletics, and all of you who continue to support Carolina Rise, just know this: it has made a difference, a big difference, and there are major things coming down the road for Carolina Rise as well. With football soon, you will know about all of it. And all of it in general. Hats off to anybody out there that is trying to help Gamecock athletes through their collectives and those type of things. At the end of the day, it is not about you. It ain't about Garnet Trust. It ain't about Carolina Rise. It's about the athletes. Those who want to stick their face in the middle of it, make it about themselves. It's not about them. It's about the athletes. So, and it's about the people that donate the money to help the athletes. So, really appreciate everybody whom has done that through the outlets that are available to do it. And hopefully it makes it a better Carolina down the road. It's 1:12. We're going to 1:30 today because Shane Beamer joined JC and Morgan this morning. JC and Mike had him on for about, I don't know, maybe almost 45 minutes. It was a good interview. And if you missed that, make sure you go back and check it out. It was streamed live on all of our channels this morning as well. And we look forward to having more of that down the road and in the future. A couple of things. The guest picker will be interesting, by the way. So looking forward to that.
So they haven't named it yet, right?
No. Yeah, no, they won't. Okay. There's going to be a lot going on up there. If you haven't already gotten your tickets, go ahead and do it, because so the Charlotte Gamecock Club does a great job. Hats off to them. They always have a wonderful. Every time South Carolina has played in Charlotte, if you've been to the games, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then and you go this year, you'll experience it for the first time. They always do a wonderful event on the Friday night before the Gamecocks play somewhere. I'm not sure where it's going to be this year. I've heard a couple of things, but certainly don't want to say anything. It's not my place to do so. So they'll announce all that soon. And then on game day, there will be a tailgate for Carolina Rise members and the Big Spur and so on and so forth, right outside of the ballpark. And you will really enjoy what is being put together. Those details should be forthcoming, I'm going to say, within a couple of weeks at the latest, but more than likely a little bit before that. And we really look forward to meeting all of you. There will be a bunch of people there that you'll recognize. So that should be fun. And so if you can get up to Charlotte, make sure that if you can go on Friday night and just kick off the football season, do it. But make sure you get there early enough on Saturday to at least enjoy a bunch of your, I don't know what you want to call them, friends and family at the big tailgate outside of the stadium. And it is so interesting. Every time they play, Phil, you get the same thing from ESPN. Who's the real Carolina?
Real Carolina.
Jesus, knock it off.
It's like,
hey,
like,
geez Louise.
How many times are we going to have to get?
How many times are we going to go through this?
Man, y'all hard of hearing or what?
I mean, go look at the last 20 years plus record of South Carolina versus the state of North Carolina. You might as well just combine it into one state. No,
I love what Mike said on JC and Morgan earlier today. He was like, North Carolina is just, going to try to go back out there and again prove to everybody that they're not really soft.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
It is the narrative, obviously. It's kind of been there. I mean, that was their narrative last year. It was the narrative. Now, look, the Tar Heels did beat South Carolina to open the season back in 2019, but Carolina's won 8 of the last 11 games. What's wild though, that goes back to 1981.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, once we start steamrolling ourselves towards this game, a lot of the game nuggets will be coming out. But going back to 1981, it really is amazing that they have only played 11 times. I mean, it almost doesn't make sense. You're talking about 40 plus years, and they played 11 times. They played 4 times in the 80s. They've only played twice in the 90s, and since then they've played 5. And Carolina's won 4 of those 5 since 2007, when Chris Smelly and South Carolina went up to Chapel Hill and won that game. So it's amazing. I don't. You ask this question, and I think you get a 50-50 split every time you ask it. Should they play every year? I say no.
I'd rotate through it. I like having a Power 5 opponent there, though.
I do too.
I wouldn't want to see just a group of 5 team come in there, or an even lesser team than that. But yeah, I'd like to get it. Yeah, I like having 2 Power 5 teams. I like having 2 non-Power 5 teams in the non-con.
Yeah, I do too. And it's North Carolina is. This game being in Charlotte is what makes it even more intriguing, quite frankly. I don't. If this game was being played in Columbia, I'm not sure that there would be as. I know the line wouldn't say what it says at all. Yeah. Actually, I mean, does anybody remember how North Carolina finished the season last year?
Yeah, I watched it for a month. One of the TVs at work is stuck on the ACC network, so it keeps showing that championship game.
Which ACC Media Days is ongoing right now. But they lose. They lost 4 games to end the season last year. Now, granted, 3 of those games were by 4 points or less. I understand that, but Drake May is the only thing.
Yeah,
that those whom are giving them expectations are hitching their wagon too. And this goes back to something that we have talked about a lot, but I've only referenced this. I've only, discussed this in reference to other SEC QBs. Now, some of this has changed because last week the SEC network, I think there was some authentic discussion in there about Gamecock football with Spencer Rattler leading them. But up until that point, it was still, we just don't know what we're going to get out of Spencer Rattler. Not like he's turned the page or he's done this, that, and the other. None of that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's the same narrative that we were getting coming out of, or coming into last year. Yeah, right. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but
Right.
There's always that but, and it's like, well, I mean, listen, all quarterbacks make questionable decisions under duress in games. I don't care who you are.
That's right.
Especially at the college level. So it's like to have that hanging over his head when, quite frankly, he's been hamstrung these past 2 years by an offensive system that was so complex it had freaking blueprints.
Right.
I mean, it's unfair to criticize him continually for the same thing. When you've got a guy in there who seems to be saying the right things ahead of the season to alleviate some of that side of it. Now, Spencer obviously still needs to, settle in, make good decisions, but for that to always be brought up, especially, I mean, because there are people who just, are chomping at the bit every time somebody's like, did you see what he did against Tennessee? And, did you see what he did against Clemson? And everybody's like, well, did you see the previous 10 games?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like, well, he didn't play poorly in all 10 of those games. Stop constructing a narrative to make it look like, he was.
And that is exactly where I'm going. Because anybody pay attention, and I'm not, look, here, you got to understand my argument here. I'm not arguing that Drake May isn't good. That's not what I'm saying. I think he's fantastic. What I'm saying is the national narrative has been that Drake May is the greatest quarterback we've seen since name your greatest quarterback. And that Spencer Rattler, well, I just don't know which quarterback we're going to see. Okay, well, which quarterback are we going to see from Drake May? Because the last time that I saw, actually, I'm sorry, let me back up. The last 4 times that I saw Drake May, he couldn't complete over about 55% of his passes. He never threw for over 300 yards, and he threw a whopping 4 combined touchdowns in the last 4 games that he played to go with 4 interceptions and took 14 sacks. Oh, well, that's what it was. Their offensive line was bad. Oh, it was? So what you're telling me is that all things created equal, Carolina, Spencer had a better situation? Bull crap. And that's what I'm getting at here. Like, here we are, and the whole country is Drake May is the Heisman candidate, this, that, and the other. Spencer Rattler can't even get on one of the first 4 All-SEC teams. What does that say about the leagues? Does the rest of the ACC suck? Probably. But also, what does it say about the narrative, which is what you were just discussing? Oh, well, you know what? But they just hired Chip Lindsey. Wonderful. They hired Chip Lindsey. You mean the guy who's been at like 7 different schools in the last 7 years as an offensive coordinator? You mean that guy who nobody wants him after another year? He just played for Phil Longo, who's the greatest offensive coordinator to ever walk God's green earth in Chapel Hill.
One of the hottest names out there, right?
The guy couldn't throw for 250 yards in his last 4 games, and yet we're coming into the season, and all of those who think they know everything about everything only want to talk about Drake May. Well, let me go back and look at Drake May. Oh, man, he threw for 352 against App. All right. He had a pretty good game there against Notre Dame. He had a hell of a game. I remember that game very well. They got beat by 13 points, I might add. Let's see. He threw for 360 against Virginia Tech. They were terrible. 309 at Miami. Awful. 380 at Duke. They were okay. They were respectable. It was a great game. Oh, Pitt. There you go. Virginia. Man. Whew. Wake Forest didn't play defense. And then Georgia Tech, NC State, Clemson, and Oregon. 44 completions on 77 attempts, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, and about a 54% completion rate. So the 2 best teams that they played, actually the only 2 teams they legitimately played all year, the guy, he wasn't good. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that he's going to be bad. I don't think he's going to be bad. I think he's going to have an excellent year. This is more of a defensive Spencer Rattler. They've both changed coordinators, and they've both had ups and downs in their career. Why is it coming into the year one of them is only up and the other one was we'll wait and see? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't get it. No, because one of them looks like the physical specimen of what's going, what the next level is looking for in a quarterback, and the other one is, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they've been, I think the fact that, it's like JC was saying the other day. I mean, my man had, he was a public figure even in his youth, right? And people started judging him at that point. But then you come in here and he has that really great season with Oklahoma. And then next thing you know, the narrative is, oh, he got benched. He got benched for the guy who won a freaking Heisman Trophy eventually. And is, the odds-on favorite to do it again. And is the early pick to be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL going into next season.
Yeah.
We don't look at that side of it. It's just all we hear is, well, he got benched. So, and then you get the Satterfield experiment, and I don't really understand it. It doesn't make any sense, but because May looks the part, they give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yep, exactly. And you know what? To be honest with you, I hope they continue to do it.
Let them. That's right.
I mean, keep saying it. He was sacked 40 times last year. And obviously South Carolina's aware of that. North Carolina feels like they're pretty good up front, but I hope they continue to say it. So those of you, and I know they're expensive, but if you can do it, buy your tickets and make sure that you're there on Saturday, September the 2nd. I know they're not cheap. I get it. I understand that. And it's a lot easier to not be sitting out there sweating all day on the opening day of college football. But I have been baffled. I almost feel like, and I'm not like a fan club guy. I never have been. But I've seen every quarterback that's played at this school for the last 30 plus years, and none of them have what this guy has. None of them. It's not even close. Not my friend Steven Garcia or Blake Mitchell or Perry or Chris Smelly or any of the guys. Anthony Wright, Steve Tenniel. I know all these guys. Call them all friends. Great people. They'll all tell you to your face, yeah, I don't have what he had. This guy's unbelievable, what he can do. And yet, but nobody now, had they hired Garrett Riley to run the offense, it'd be a whole, this whole shebang. But they didn't hire Garrett Riley. And, Shane Beamer very eloquently, but also sternly months ago said, anybody know who Spencer played for at Oklahoma? I wasn't doing that. Period.
Yeah.
Okay. I did what was best for this program, and they feel like they're in a pretty good spot heading into BRC. You're in BRC. I tell you what, I don't credential myself for games, just so you know. So I like to.
Why would you do that?
Oh no, I'm in 137 BRC. I'm in 137. So, anyways. Yeah. But with all of that said, the good news with and Quantrell says people don't like Spencer JB, and a lot of it is unfounded. They watch a Netflix show, make assumptions. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. That's the nature of the beast. And hey, look, last year there was so much attention going on him. There was so much attention on him last year going into the year. It did not really start well. The offense was just not good. It was decent in spurts, and he had some remarkable plays here and there. And then Florida happened, and everybody thought this whole charade was a joke. And then, the rest of it happened. The media does talk about that. They do acknowledge what happened in those last couple of games. But again, it's still always just question. Oh, did you say Drake May? Oh yeah, that guy, Heisman Trophy, number 1 pick in the draft. Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's just amazing how it's all going to go. With that said, the silver lining, College Game Day coming to town. This will be the talked about game beginning literally next week. It's going to be nonstop, 4 straight weeks. That's what people are going to talk about is Carolina and North Carolina. Carolina and North Carolina. You notice how I said that. And it sure is going to be fun. You're very welcome, Meredith. Always repping McKellar Enterprises.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, what's up? Hey, Mir.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the show here a little bit. JP got some. Put in a lot of hours yesterday working on some stuff for JC and Mike, and I was like, well, this will translate right on over into So that's the good thing about this is it all just goes right on through.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Jim Harbaugh suspended, more than likely. It's not official, but it seems to be headed that way for the first 4 games of the season. We'll try to mix some of that in tomorrow. It is a huge, huge ordeal for Michigan as mighty East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers lead off their 2023 football schedule.
Can't believe the NCAA was so harsh as to penalize them a conference game.
They literally don't play anybody until they play Penn State. No, that's not true. When they go to Michigan State, that game.
And Michigan State may give them, yeah.
You never know. You just never know. They've been picked to win the league, but, I mean, come on. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana. I'll tell you the game that's going to give them a fits. Not that anybody cares to finish inside the Gamecocks with this, but hear me out. The final 3 weeks of the year, at Penn State, at Maryland versus Ohio State. You think anybody's going to be thinking or looking to that Maryland game between trips to Happy Valley and hosting Ohio State?
Game, right? Yeah. That ought to get Loxley a couple of months in the offseason of some recruiting momentum that he'll eventually lose because that's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to go knock on Coach Fridge's door and ask him, Coach, what do you think about that game falling there? See what he has to say about it, because that's something. All right, tomorrow is Wednesday. We actually may have Mike Morgan as a part of our programming tomorrow. If not, he'll be in on Thursday. And we will continue to fill up the guest list with football season right around the corner. For I don't know where the hell he went, but JC, thanks to John Whittle, thanks to all of you who watched JC and Morgan earlier too with Coach Beamer. If you missed it, go back and check it out. And always thanks to Phil. This is Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We are built by the Barndo Co. We are teed up by Traveling Country Club, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow at 11.